Martin Luther King say? Those who have not found the cause for which they are willing to die, their lives are not worth living. Simply meaning, those who have not really found their maximum level of self-respect. See, in Dr. Martin Luther King, the system of racism emphasizes the dreamer. No, he said he was a drum major for justice. He was a drum major for justice and willing to give his life to continue the effort towards justice. He wasn't a dreamer. He was filled with determination. Same is true for Malcolm X. Elijah Muhammad, all of the people that Fannie Lou Hamer, Marcus Garvey, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman. You see, so we have to, change our understanding and get into, think about it, we're the parents of the people on the planet. And parents ought to be able to teach about self-respect. And I urge people to look at film footage of black people in the 1960s during the civil rights struggle. You see, when those people were walking with dignity and pride and self-respect. And that dignity and pride and self-respect enabled them to go up against horses and police people wielding batons and knocking them down with water hoses and dogs. And they went up against it because they had their pride and their dignity and their self-respect moving them. But the system of racism, white supremacy, saw the power of that and said, wait a minute. These people are talking about black pride, black is beautiful, black power, black self-respect. And the system of white supremacy understood we have to annihilate that no matter how much it costs. We have got to train these people into a state of maximal demeanment. And so it started out because, let's say we didn't understand system of racism and white supremacy at that time. And so black people were just looking to have the laws changed, get on the front of the bus and whatnot, be able to enter a hotel, and the system said, and simultaneously, we are going to teach you to maximally demean and degrade yourself. And starting with Superfly. And being trained that it's cool to sell drugs and to use all kinds of foul language in relationship to one another. And black men and women fighting each other and people killing each other. And say, we will set this as a model for them. And we will pay their so-called entertainers instead of having, Public Enemy started out doing Fear of the Black Planet, which they took from the concept of the Cress theory of color confrontation and racism. And the system said, no, we cannot have these people internalize or enhance their self-respect through what they hear. We have to completely reverse it and pay large sums of money for them to demean and degrade themselves. And because we have made them dumb and stupid and ignorant, the system of racism has made them dumb, stupid, and ignorant. They won't even understand, but we will be paying them millions of dollars to call themselves niggers and bitches and hoes and gangsters and thugs and dancing and doing all kinds of sexual gyrations on the television because they don't understand that they are disrespecting themselves and demeaning themselves. And these images are going all over the entire planet Earth. We will reduce them to less than trash. And they won't even understand what's happening to them. Neely Fuller has written about 10 basic behavioral changes that can begin to make a start towards eliminating racism, white supremacy. And he says, stop gossiping about one another. Stop name-calling one another. Stop cursing one another. Stop being discourteous and disrespectful to one another. Stop squabbling with one another. Stop robbing one another. Stop killing one another. Stop fighting one another. Stop killing one another. Now, these may seem like very simple behaviors, but they're fundamental in terms of internalizing and maximizing self-respect so that black people begin to get along harmoniously with one another. Now, contrast these behavior guidelines with the kinds of things that black people are taught through much of the so-called music that is distributed by white supremacy, with black people calling themselves names and calling each other names and talking about killing one another. Contrast these behavioral exercises, I call them exercises in black mental health and black self-respect. And just imagine what things would be like if black people became codified in the terms of Neely Fuller, and black people were not fighting one another and not killing one another and not robbing and stealing from one another. And so I have added some things to that very important list. And I say stop throwing down trash where black people live, work, and play. Stop using and selling drugs to one another. Stop black children from thinking that as children they can be adequate mothers and fathers. Stop pretending that racism, white supremacy does not exist. And stop allowing racism, white supremacy to divide black, brown, red, and yellow people. So these are behaviors that, as you know, seem simple on the surface, but they are very profound because they are reflective of people who are practicing self-respect. And I maintain that self-respect is more powerful than nuclear weapons. And this is why the system of racism, white supremacy, spends the multiple millions, billions of dollars encouraging, through programming, encouraging black people to demean and to disrespect themselves and to disrespect one another through the production of such films as Precious and Monster Ball and Tyler Perry's movies. I think he doesn't understand, just like I think that Oprah Winfrey, they don't understand the system of racism, white supremacy, although they've made a lot of money within the system, but they don't understand. If Tyler Perry is producing films where a black man is portraying a female, do you see, or where a black grandmother is being demeaned, black people would not have survived had it not been for black grandmothers. And how dare somebody produce films that are demeaning and disrespecting the image of black grandmothers and having people laugh at it. Do you see, this is profound lack of understanding of what the system is all about. And it also should teach black people that making millions of dollars is not the ultimate goal that people should have. The ultimate goal that people should have is self-respect. And if there is a system of racism, white supremacy, the ultimate goal is replacing that system of racism, white supremacy with a system of justice.
BNN